Dr. Emily Anderson pressed her face against the observation dome of her research vessel, her iridescent scales reflecting the pale blue light of Earth. The third planet of this unremarkable solar system shouldn't have been special. It shouldn't have produced anything more interesting than basic bacterial life. Yet here it was, harboring what might be the most terrifying species the galaxy had ever encountered. Recording entry 247. She spoke into her neural interface. The humans have exceeded every prediction model again. Today, I witnessed what they call a marathon. Over 30,000 individuals voluntarily engaged in persistence hunting behavior. For entertainment. She checked her instruments again, confirming what her eyes could barely believe. The temperature was well above optimal for most sentient species, yet the humans pressed on, their bodies literally leaking water to maintain homeostasis. Any rational species would have sought shelter, waited for more favorable conditions. But not humans. They smiled through their exhaustion, encouraged each other, and celebrated their mutual suffering. The High Council had dismissed her initial reports as paranoid speculation. After all, how dangerous could a species be when they spent resources caring for their weak, their elderly, and even members of completely different species they called pets? But Emily knew better. Each seemingly contradictory behavior only added to her growing concern. Supplemental observation, she continued. Their young engage in ritualized hunting behavior from an early age. They call it hide and seek, a simulation of both predator and prey roles. Even more disturbing, they turned pursuit predation into a form of entertainment they call sports. Their most popular activities all involve chasing, throwing projectiles, or direct physical combat. Emily pulled up her latest neural recordings, displaying them across the dome's interior. Images of human activities flickered around her. Children playing tag, athletes competing, dancers performing. To an untrained eye, they might seem harmless. But she saw the truth beneath the surface, the refined stalking patterns, the pack coordination, the territorial displays. Most concerning is their relationship with other predatory species, she noted, watching a video of a human female sleeping peacefully beside a massive canine. They didn't just defeat their world's apex predators. They turned them into allies. Lions, wolves, bears. Humans looked at the most dangerous creatures on their planet and decided to make them family. A priority alert flashed across her vision. The Council had finally responded to her latest report. Emily felt her auxiliary heart flutter as she opened the message. For months, she'd been warning them about humanity's potential. Now, perhaps, they would finally listen. The message was brief. Observation unauthorized. Return to Central Command immediately. Emily's scales darkened with determination. They still didn't understand. How could she make them see? Her gaze returned to the planet below, where billions of predators were building ships, reaching for the stars, preparing for a universe they somehow knew was waiting. Final entry, she whispered. I respectfully decline the Council's order. Humanity isn't just another species discovering spaceflight. There's something we've never seen before. Omnivorous pursuit predators with pack-bonding tendencies and the ability to transform other species into allies. They sweat to cool themselves, meaning they never have to stop hunting. They bare their teeth as a friendly gesture because they've never had reason to fear showing their weapons. She watched as night fell across North America, millions of artificial lights twinkling like stars. Most importantly, they're watching us. Their entertainment is filled with stories of alien life. But they don't just imagine contact. They prepare for it. Their fiction explores every scenario, from peaceful exchange to all-out war. They're running the galaxy's largest threat assessment program, and they don't even know we exist yet. Emily began powering down her ship's stealth systems. Tomorrow, she would do something unprecedented. She would reveal herself to their scientists. The Council would be furious, but they had left her no choice. Humanity would reach the stars soon, ready or not. The galaxy needed to understand them before that happened. Final recommendation: classify humanity as a Class 1 alpha predator species with unprecedented social cooperation capabilities. And may the eternal void help us all when they look up and see us watching. The lights of her ship dimmed as Earth's Terminator line crept across the Pacific. Somewhere down there, humanity's space programs were working through the night, driven by an instinct older than their species, the drive to seek, to chase, to hunt new horizons. And for the first time in her distinguished career, Dr. Emily Anderson was truly afraid. "Delete that footage immediately," Council Member Vex demanded, his bioluminescent patterns flashing with agitation. Dr. Emily Anderson stood her ground, her scales maintaining a calm blue despite the 6 council members looming over her. "Respectfully, you need to see this," she gestured, and the holographic display sprang to life. "This is what humans call a playground." The footage showed dozens of small humans climbing, swinging, and chasing each other across artificial structures. Some hung upside down, testing their grip strength. Others practiced coordinated pack movements through games of Follow the Leader. "They're training their young," Emily explained. "Every game teaches a survival skill. Watch this one they call Tag. It's a perfect simulation of pursuit predation. The children learn to track, to evade, to think tactically. And they're laughing the entire time." Council Member Zara leaned forward, her crystalline form refracting the hologram's light. "But surely this is just primitive behavior they'll outgrow as they advance." Emily shook her head, bringing up another display. "This is what they call professional sports. Adults in their physical prime, competing in ritualized combat and pursuit scenarios. Millions of others watch, learning strategies and forming social bonds through shared observation. They've turned hunting practice into entertainment, culture, and social cohesion all at once." The council chamber fell silent as they watched humans engage in everything from wrestling to basketball. Each sport demonstrated a different predatory skill: acceleration, endurance, projectile accuracy, tactical coordination. "Most concerning is this," Emily continued, switching to footage of a human residence. "They share their homes with descendants of apex predators. This creature is called a cat, a pure carnivore with razor-sharp claws and excellent night vision. The humans don't just tolerate it, they love it. They've somehow turned lethal predators into family members." "Impossible," Vex muttered. "No species can form social bonds outside their evolutionary track. Humans can." Emily's scales shifted to emphasis purple. "They form emotional attachments to anything they spend time with. Plants, predators, even inanimate objects. They anthropomorphize everything, instinctively looking for patterns that remind them of themselves. And here's the truly terrifying part. It works." New footage played. Humans training wolves for search and rescue. Dolphins helping fishermen herd fish. Elephants helping to build bridges, and birds learning to speak human languages. "They don't just domesticate other species," Emily explained. "They form genuine partnerships. Every creature they bond with becomes more intelligent, more social, more human. They're not just apex predators, they're apex teachers. They uplift everything around them, intentionally or not." Council Member Cross, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. "You mentioned their entertainment in your report. Explain." Emily's scales darkened. "Their fiction reveals their true nature. They constantly imagine scenarios of meeting alien life. In some stories, they respond with violence. In others, with friendship. But in every case, they imagine themselves adapting, surviving, and usually prevailing. They're mentally preparing for every possible scenario of first contact, running millions of simultaneous simulations through what they call storytelling." She brought up clips from various human movies and games. "Look at how they depict themselves in hypothetical conflicts. They don't just imagine victory. They imagine themselves as protectors, defending not just their own species, but any others they've bonded with. They're rehearsing for a role they've assigned themselves, guardians of their adopted family, no matter how extended that family becomes. The council chamber erupted in concerned murmuring. Emily pressed her advantage. We must establish contact now, while we can still guide their development. If we wait until they discover us on their own. Out of the question, Vex interrupted. The protocols for emerging civilizations are clear. The protocols weren't written with humans in mind, Emily countered. They're advancing exponentially. They'd gone from first-powered flight to orbital satellites in less than a century. Their information technology doubles in sophistication every few years, and now they're looking up at the stars with both weapons and welcome gifts in hand. She displayed one final image, a human child sleeping peacefully, surrounded by supposedly dangerous pets, a dog on one side, a cat on the other, a parrot perched nearby, all protecting the young human. This is what we're dealing with, she concluded. A species that turns predators into protectors through the sheer force of love. Imagine what they'll do when they meet us. The council chamber remained silent long after the hologram faded. Dr. Emily Anderson watched in horror as the Drachnid mining fleet dropped out of hyperspace near Jupiter's orbit. Her warnings had come too late. Humanity's first contact wouldn't be a carefully managed diplomatic mission, but a resource grab by one of the galaxy's most aggressive corporate empires. Emergency transmission to all council members, she broadcast, her scales pulsing with urgent patterns. Drachnid heavy fleet approaching Sol system. 14 capital ships, multiple support vessels. This isn't a mining operation, it's an invasion force. The humans spotted the ships almost immediately. Their primitive detection systems might be crude, but they maintained constant surveillance of their solar system. Emily expected panic, chaos, perhaps a futile military response. Instead, she witnessed something unprecedented. They were ready. By the void, she whispered, watching as hidden defense platforms emerged from asteroid clusters. Human ships, craft that shouldn't exist yet, powered up throughout the asteroid belt. Their designs were ugly, asymmetrical, clearly cobbled together from salvaged technology. That's when Emily understood. They'd been finding pieces of crashed scout ships for decades, reverse engineering everything they could. The Drachnid command ship broadcast the standard resource claim in all known languages. This system's resources are now property of the Drachnid Mining Consortium. Resist and be destroyed. The human response came not in words, but in action. The first wave of their ships launched, but instead of maintaining formation, they scattered like startled prey. The Drachnid commanders fell for it, dividing their forces to chase down what they assumed were fleeing vessels. Remarkable, Emily noted in her emergency broadcast. They're using prey behavior as a hunting tactic. The humans are deliberately triggering the Drachnid's predatory instincts against them. The scattered human ships suddenly reversed course, their engines flaring with impossible acceleration. They'd modified their inertial dampeners past all safety limits, allowing maneuvers that would kill most species. The Drachnid ships, spread too thin, found themselves surrounded. The first shots came not from the human ships, but from cargo containers left drifting in space. Improvised mines detonated across the battlefield, their explosions synchronized to disable Drachnid shields at precise moments. The humans had turned their own garbage into weapons. They're not fighting a battle, Emily realized, her scales darkening with the implications. They're hunting. Every piece of debris is a trap, every retreat an ambush point. They're using the entire asteroid belt as a weapon. The Drachnid command ship launched fighters, expecting to overwhelm the smaller human vessels. Instead, they met squadrons of Earth fighters emerging from hiding spots in the asteroid field. The human craft were smaller, more fragile, but piloted with impossible aggression. They flew into their enemies' blind spots and stayed there, coordinating their attacks with pack-hunting precision. These combat techniques, Emily narrated, knowing the council needed to understand. They're adapted from aerial predators on their homeworld. Look at how they work in groups, like they're wolves hunting larger prey. The Drachnid fleet attempted to regroup, but the humans had seeded their retreat paths with more traps. Navigation buoys turned out to be nuclear devices. Abandoned ships exploded into clouds of shake debris. Every piece of space junk became a weapon. Then came the boarding parties. Space Marines, Emily reported, watching human troops in heavily armored suits launch themselves at the larger Drachnid ships. They're entering the enemy vessels. By the void, they're hunting them inside their own ships. The Drachnid crews, unused to close-quarter combat, fell back in panic as humans cut their way through hull plating and emergency barriers. Unlike other species, humans had evolved to fight in 3 dimensions on the ground. Zero-gravity combat came naturally to them. Within 6 hours, it was over. The Drachnid fleet was in ruins, their surviving ships fleeing back into hyperspace. The humans had lost vessels too, but they were already salvaging them, treating their own destroyed ships as simply more resources to be repurposed. Final analysis, Emily transmitted, her voice heavy with implications. Humanity didn't just survive first contact. They were prepared for it. Every piece of alien technology they found, they studied. Every space battle in their fiction, they learned from. They turned their entire asteroid belt into a kill zone, waiting for the day they'd need it. She watched as human ships began collecting their dead, treating the bodies with solemn ceremony, even in victory. They're not celebrating, she noted. They're mourning their losses and preparing for what comes next. The Drachnid Empire won't ignore this defeat. Humanity's real test is still to come, and they know it. Across Earth, governments were already releasing prepared statements about first contact. They had protocols in place, Emily realized. They'd been ready for this moment, perhaps for generations. Heaven help us all, she concluded. They'd been expecting us. The captured Drachnid warship hung in Earth orbit like a trophy, its sleek lines now marred by crude human modifications. Dr. Emily Anderson watched through her ship's sensors as teams of engineers swarmed over its hull, their welding torches creating constellations of sparks against the void. Supplemental report on human military adaptation, she recorded, her scales shifting to analytical gray. They're not just copying the alien technology, they're changing it, combining it with their own designs in ways that would horrify the original engineers. The humans had gutted the Drachnid vessel's interior, replacing its efficient but rigid command structure with something more reminiscent of their naval submarines. They'd added redundant systems, manual overrides, and most disturbing of all, close combat weapons throughout the ship. They're preparing for boarding actions, Emily noted with growing concern. The concept of continuing to fight after your ship is breached is uniquely human. Most species would consider it suicide. Humans consider it an opportunity. Her sensors detected a new energy signature as the modified ship powered up. The humans had somehow merged their primitive nuclear reactors with the Drachnid antimatter drive, creating a hybrid system that sacrificed efficiency for raw, brutal power. They've named their first hybrid warship Normandy, Emily reported. After researching the reference, I understand why the Drachnid Empire's diplomats have gone silent. This name references a historical battle where humans launched a massive seaborne invasion against heavily fortified positions. The message is clear. They're not building a defensive fleet. They're building an invasion force. The Normandy's first test flight demonstrated everything Emily had feared. The ship moved like no proper vessel should, performing maneuvers that ignored basic safety protocols. The humans had watched how other species fought in space and decided to break every rule. Their Marines are even more concerning, she continued, observing a training exercise through the Normandy's internal cameras. They've modified their combat suits with salvaged alien tech, but their tactics remain purely predatory. They move through zero gravity like surface hunters, using their environment as both cover and weapon. They don't just fight in 3 dimensions, they think in them. The exercise footage showed human Marines launching themselves through ship corridors, using magnetic grapples and momentum in ways that made Emily's scales pale. They treated every surface as a potential anchor point, every angle as a possible attack vector. Most disturbing was their use of sound, or rather, its absence. They're incorporating their entire evolutionary history into space warfare, she explained. Watch how they coordinate without speaking, using hand signals like pack hunters. They understand that in space, sound is a liability. They're adapting faster than any species we've encountered. New ships were already under construction across Earth orbit, each incorporating lessons learned from the Normandy. The humans weren't mass-producing identical vessels. They were creating specialized predators for different tactical roles. They've designated different ship classes based on Earth's apex predators, Emily noted. Fast attack craft are Raptors. Heavy gunships are Bears. Stealth vessels are Panthers. They're building a space fleet that mirrors their planet's predatory ecosystem. The Council's response to her latest report was immediate. Assessment of human threat level. Emily watched as the Normandy demonstrated its main weapon, a modified mining laser that could carve through capital ship armor like tissue. The humans had turned a tool for breaking asteroids into a weapon that ignored most energy shields. Threat assessment impossible, she replied. We're not dealing with a standard military advancement scenario. Humanity isn't trying to match our technology level. They're taking our technology and making it more lethal, more efficient, more human. They don't think like prey species learning to fight. They think like predators learning to hunt bigger game. The Normandy powered down, its test complete. Already, Emily could see modifications being planned, improvements being made. Humanity wasn't satisfied with matching their enemies. They intended to surpass them. Final observation, she recorded. Most species took millennia to develop their combat doctrine. Humanity is doing it in months. They're not just learning space warfare. They're revolutionizing it. The galaxy has rules of engagement that have stood for thousands of years. Humanity is breaking every single one of them. She watched as the Normandy's Marines practiced one last maneuver, using their ship's artificial gravity to launch themselves like artillery shells toward a target vessel. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. We thought we were watching an emerging civilization, Emily concluded. We were wrong. We're watching evolution in action, and humanity is becoming something entirely new. A species that combines the raw power of a predator with the strategic thinking of a prey species. The galaxy isn't ready for what they're becoming. The diplomatic chamber aboard the Normandy wasn't designed for comfort by any species standards. Dr. Emily Anderson watched as representatives from 7 alien races crowded around a table crafted from salvaged drachnid hull plating. The humans had left the battle scars visible, a silent reminder of their capabilities. Recording diplomatic observation log, she subvocalized. The humans have done something unprecedented. They've turned their first victory into a recruitment drive. Captain Sarah Martinez stood at the head of the table, her dress uniform bearing both traditional human medals and symbols of respect from 3 different alien cultures. The message was clear. Earth wasn't just looking for allies. They were offering belonging. The Drachnid Empire has dominated this sector for too long, Martinez began, her voice carrying that peculiar human warmth that even translator modules couldn't quite filter out. They call themselves an empire, but they're nothing but bullies with bigger ships. We're offering something different. A pack. Emily's scales rippled with surprise as she recognized representatives from species that historically never cooperated. The crystalline Jrax, natural enemies of the aquatic Merikath, sat side by side. The hyper-aggressive Vorn warriors shared space with the typically isolationist Shadow monks. Most remarkable is their approach to technology sharing, Emily noted. They're not just offering military aid. They're teaching other species how to modify and improve their own technology. The humans understand that the strongest pack is one where every member can hunt. The meeting's dynamics shifted as Martinez activated a holographic display showing modified ship designs for each species. The humans hadn't simply adapted alien tech to their own needs. They'd studied each species' biology, culture, and fighting style to create custom solutions. For the Jrax, We've developed crystalline matrix computing that works with your natural resonance, Martinez explained. The Mercath ships will have hybrid water/vacuum environments for optimal crew performance. Vorn vessels will incorporate your natural electromagnetic sensitivity into their targeting systems. Emily watched the representative's body language shift from cautious interest to eager engagement. The humans weren't trying to dominate their allies. They were empowering them. They're rewriting the rules of galactic politics, Emily reported. Most species form alliances based on mutual benefit. Humans form them based on mutual protection. They're treating these diplomatic relations like they treat their Earth pets, as family members to be defended. The meeting reached its crescendo when Martinez introduced the combat training program. Footage played showing human Marines training alongside alien warriors, teaching them Earth combat techniques adapted to each species' unique abilities. Your natural crystalline armor, Martinez addressed the Zrax. We can teach you to use it as both shield and weapon. Mercath water manipulation, perfect for zero-gravity combat. Vorn electromagnetic fields, ideal for ship-to-ship warfare. Emily's scales darkened as she understood the full implications. They're not just building an alliance. They're creating an interspecies hunting pack, with each member's natural abilities enhanced and coordinated. It's the same pattern they used with Earth's predators, scaled up to galactic levels. The various representatives were now sharing their own stories of Drachnid oppression, their traditional diplomatic restraint forgotten in the face of human openness. Martinez listened to each one, demonstrating that uniquely human trait of empathetic predation. Secondary observation, Emily added. The humans are using their social bonding as a weapon. They're not just offering military support, they're offering friendship. For species that have spent millennia in carefully regulated diplomatic relations, this emotional directness is intoxicating. The meeting concluded with a ceremony that Emily knew would give the council nightmares. Each species representative received a ceremonial blade, modeled after ancient human weapons but crafted to match their unique physiologies. They're marking their new pack members, Emily realized. Just as their ancestors gave collars to domesticated wolves, they're giving weapons to their alien allies. The symbolism is impossible to miss. These are not subordinate species, but fellow hunters. Martinez's final words confirmed Emily's worst fears and greatest hopes. Earth stands with its friends. The Drachnid Empire thought they could hunt the galaxy's lesser species at will. Time to show them what a real pack of hunters can do. Final note, Emily transmitted. The humans have achieved in weeks what the Council couldn't do in centuries. They've united disparate species not through careful negotiation or economic incentives, but through a simple promise. Join our pack, and you'll never hunt alone again. The galaxy was changing. Humanity wasn't just joining the interstellar community. They were reshaping it in their image. And their image, Emily now understood, was that of the ultimate pack hunters. Dr. Emily Anderson's scales had gone completely white, a sign of pure terror among her species, as she watched the Drachnid war fleet emerge from hyperspace. 300 capital ships darkened the orbit of Jupiter, their weapon systems charging with enough power to glass a continent. Emergency broadcast to all council members, she transmitted, her voice steady despite her fear. The Drachnid Empire has committed their entire Third Fleet to the Sol system. But something's wrong. The humans, they're smiling. The defenders of Earth numbered barely 50 ships, a mixture of modified alien vessels and hybrid human designs. Yet across every command channel Emily monitored, she detected no panic, no despair. Instead, she heard laughter. Admiral Helena Chen's voice cut across all frequencies. "Welcome to Sol, you overconfident bastards. Let's show them why you don't corner a human." The Drachnid command ship broadcast its ultimatum. Surrender your worlds or watch them burn. The human response came in the form of a massive energy surge from Jupiter's largest moon. The Drachnid fleet sensors barely registered the threat before Ganymede's ice surface shattered, revealing a massive weapon array built inside the moon itself. Impossible, Emily whispered. They turned an entire moon into a fortress. They'd been preparing this killing ground since before first contact. The Ganymede array's first shot wasn't designed to destroy ships. It targeted the fleet's formation integrity. Massive gravitational pulses scattered the Drachnid vessels like leaves in a hurricane. The neat, orderly battle lines dissolved into chaos. Tactical analysis, Emily recorded, her scientific detachment returning. The humans knew they'd be outnumbered. Their solution: change the rules of space combat entirely. They're not fighting a battle. They're conducting a hunt in 3 dimensions. From hidden bases across the asteroid belt, smaller human ships emerge. They weren't engaging the enemy directly. They were hurting them, using electromagnetic pulses and gravitic mines to force the Drachnid ships into predetermined killing zones. The humans call this channeling the prey, Emily noted. It's a hunting technique older than their civilization, adapted for space warfare. Every asteroid field is a choke point, every gas giant's orbit a potential ambush site. The Drachnid commanders, trained in conventional space warfare, attempted to regroup their forces. But the humans had studied their tactics, learned their protocols. Every standard response played into prepared traps. These defenses, Emily observed, they're not just military installations. Look at how they're layered, how they support each other. This is exactly how their ancient ancestors arranged hunting grounds. The entire solar system is one giant prehistoric hunting trap. A Drachnid battle group attempted to bypass the defenses, making a run for Earth. They met something even more terrifying than the military response: civilian resistance. Every orbital station, mining platform, and research facility had been weaponized. Most species arm their military, Emily transmitted, her scales darkening. Humans arm everyone. That repair depot, it's a missile battery. Those civilian ships, all equipped for combat. They turned their entire population into a defense force. The Drachnid fleet's casualties mounted as they discovered that humans had seeded their own solar system, with weapons platforms disguised as debris. Communication satellites turned out to be nuclear mines. Abandoned ships transformed into guided missiles. They're using their own garbage as weapons, Emily noted with horrified admiration. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is what it seems. The humans have turned their entire civilization into a weapon. Admiral Chen's voice crackled across the frequencies again. All ships, execute Operation Rabbit Snare. Emily's translator stumbled over the term until she accessed Earth's historical databases. They named this strategy after how their ancestors hunted quick prey, by letting it exhaust itself running into prepared traps. The remaining human ships suddenly broke formation, appearing to flee in terror. The Drachnid commanders, sensing victory, ordered pursuit. Too late, they realized their error. The fleeing ships were leading them into the kill zone between Mars and Earth, where overlapping fields of fire from dozens of hidden installations awaited. Final tactical observation, Emily recorded as the trap closed. Humanity's greatest military innovation isn't their technology. It's their perspective. They don't see ships, stations, or even planets as separate entities. To them, everything is connected. Everything is a potential weapon, and every battle is a hunt. The massacre that followed would reshape galactic military doctrine forever. The mighty Third Fleet of the Drachnid Empire died in Sol's outer orbits, undone by a species that saw space warfare not as a clash of fleets, but as an evolution of their most primitive hunting instincts. Correction to all previous threat assessments, Emily concluded. We didn't discover humanity. We wandered into their hunting grounds, and they were ready for us. Dr. Emily Anderson stood in the observation deck of the Stellar Academy, watching as diplomatic vessels from 20 different species docked at the massive space station. Earth had transformed its victory over the Drachnid Empire into something unprecedented, an interstellar teaching center. Recording cultural analysis, she began, her scales shifting through patterns of amazement. The humans have done more than win a war. They've triggered an evolutionary cascade across multiple species. Below her, a group of crystalline Jirax warriors trained alongside human marines, their naturally rigid movements becoming fluid and predatory. In another chamber, Mercath scientists collaborated with human engineers, combining their aquatic technology with Earth's aggressive innovation. The humans call it cross-pollination, Emily noted, watching the human instructor teach a group of shadow monks how to move like Earth's big cats. They're not just sharing technology or tactics. They're teaching other species how to access their own predatory instincts. Commander James Rodriguez, the Academy's head instructor, joined her at the window. "Beautiful, isn't it?" he asked, gesturing to the training grounds below. "Every species has a hidden strength. We just help them find it." Emily's scales rippled with curiosity. "But how do you decide what to teach each species?" Rodriguez smiled, that uniquely human expression that still unnerved most aliens. "We study their evolutionary history, the Jirax. Their crystalline form evolved from ambush predators. We're teaching them to embrace that heritage. The Mercath developed in ocean trenches, perfect for stealth operations. You're awakening dormant traits," Emily realized, watching a Vorn warrior successfully complete a complex human martial arts sequence, abilities their species forgot they had. "Exactly," Rodriguez confirmed. "Most species evolved beyond their predatory roots. Humans, we kept one foot in our past. Now we're teaching others to do the same. Not to regress, but to find balance." Emily recorded the conversation, knowing the council would need to understand. Observation. Humanity isn't just changing how species fight. They're changing how they think. In the main assembly hall, human diplomats worked with representatives from former enemy races. The Drachnid Empire's collapse had left a power vacuum, but instead of filling it, humanity was teaching others to protect themselves. "Most fascinating is their approach to technology," Emily noted. "They don't just hand over advanced weapons. They teach principles, concepts, ways of thinking. A Jirax engineer recently redesigned their entire shield system based on studying human predatory tactics." Rodriguez led her through the Academy's research wing, where collaborative teams worked on projects that would have been impossible months ago. Mercath liquid computing merged with human neural interface design. Vorn energy weapons combined with Earth's understanding of predator-prey dynamics. Secondary observation, Emily continued. The humans have turned evolution itself into a weapon, not through genetic modification, but through cultural exchange. They're teaching predatory adaptation as a philosophy. The Academy's central computer displayed a real-time map of known space. Former Drachnid territory was being reshaped, not through conquest, but through what humans called natural selection of ideas. Species that adopted Earth's teachings thrived. Those that clung to old ways found themselves outmatched. "Your species has achieved in months what the Council feared would take millennia," Emily told Rodriguez. "You've created an evolutionary arms race of innovation." "Not an arms race," Rodriguez corrected. "A renaissance. We're not teaching them to be human. We're teaching them to be the best version of themselves." Emily watched as a group of newly graduated alien officers received their certificates. Physical papers, another human tradition that had spread rapidly. Each graduate moved with new confidence, combining their species' natural abilities with human tactical thinking. "Final analysis," she recorded. "Humanity's greatest weapon isn't their technology or even their predatory nature. It's their ability to teach, to inspire evolution in others. They're not creating servants or allies. They're creating equals." The graduation ceremony concluded with another human tradition, a feast where all species shared food, stories, and knowledge. Emily watched predator and prey species mingling freely, their ancient fears forgotten in the face of human-inspired growth. "The Council feared humanity would conquer the galaxy," she concluded. "Instead, they're teaching it to evolve. Every species they touch becomes something new, not more human, but more alive to their own potential. They're not just apex predators. They're apex teachers, and the galaxy will never be the same. The council chamber fell silent as Dr. Emily Anderson completed her final presentation. Her scales shimmered with earnest conviction as she stood before the assembled representatives of the galaxy's oldest civilizations. Distinguished members of the council, she began. 5 years ago, I warned you about humanity's predatory nature. Today, I stand corrected. We weren't seeing the full picture. The holographic display behind her showed Earth's solar system, now a bustling hub of interstellar commerce and cultural exchange. Ships of every known species moved freely through space that had once been a deadly killing ground. We thought their predatory instincts made them dangerous, Emily continued. What we failed to understand was that these same instincts made them perfect protectors. They don't just hunt. They guard their territory, defend their pack, and teach their young. They've extended that behavior to encompass the entire galaxy. Admiral Helena Chen appeared beside her, now wearing the insignia of the newly formed Terran Protective Alliance. The human warrior's presence would have caused panic in the chamber years ago. Now, several council members nodded in respect. The Drachnid Empire's fall created a power vacuum, Chen explained, her voice carrying that peculiar human warmth. We could have filled it. Instead, we chose to teach others to protect themselves. A strong pack doesn't need a single alpha. It needs every member to be strong. Emily activated a series of displays showing the transformation of former Drachnid territories. Where there had been subjugated worlds, there were now thriving civilizations. Former slave species had reclaimed their homeworlds, guided by human advisors who taught them to defend their freedom. Most remarkable is their approach to peace, Emily noted. Humans don't enforce it through treaties or economic pressure. They create it by making conflict too costly for aggressors. Their predatory insight lets them identify and counter threats before they develop. The display shifted to show the Stellar Academy, now expanded into a network of learning centers across known space. Species that had never communicated now trained together, combining their natural abilities with human tactical innovations. Your primitive savages have become philosophers, Council member Vex admitted, his earlier disdain replaced with grudging admiration. They've transformed the galaxy's understanding of strength and civilization. Chen smiled. That expression that had once terrified other species now brought reassurance. We learned early in our evolution that the strongest predators are the ones who protect their territory, not just hunt in it. The galaxy is our territory now. All of us together. Emily's scales shifted to indicate agreement. Final observation for the historical record. Humanity's greatest achievement isn't their military victory or technological advancement. It's their ability to turn predatory instincts into protective principles. The chamber's displays showed scenes from across known space. Human Marines training alongside former enemies, Earth scientists collaborating with alien researchers, diplomatic missions that looked more like family gatherings than formal negotiations. They've created something unprecedented, Emily concluded. A galactic civilization that doesn't suppress its primitive instincts or hide behind pure logic. They've shown us that true civilization means embracing our natural strengths while choosing how to use them. Admiral Chen stepped forward, addressing the council directly. Earth stands ready to continue its role, not as conquerors or rulers, but as teachers and guardians. Our predatory nature will remain our strength, not to threaten, but to protect. The council chamber erupted in discussion, but it was merely formality. The galaxy had already changed. Humanity's influence had spread not through force of arms, but through force of example. Final entry in Xenobiological Observation Log, Emily recorded. We feared humanity would destroy galactic civilization. Instead, they've transformed it into something stronger, more vibrant, and more alive. They've taught us that being civilized doesn't mean rejecting our primitive natures. It means channeling them towards something greater. As the council session ended, Emily watched humans and aliens departing together, their movements showing the subtle influence of shared training and mutual respect. The predators had become protectors, the savages had become teachers, and the galaxy was better for it. End report, she concluded. Final recommendation. Classify humanity not as a threat to galactic civilization, but as its ultimate guardians. They've shown us that true strength lies not in denying our primitive natures, but in choosing how to use them. The galaxy's greatest predators have become its greatest protectors, and we are all safer for it.